The Democratic governor of Virginia decided to move forward with the execution of a mentally ill man last night. So listen to this. Convicted killer William Morva has been executed despite his mental disorder and appeals from the daughter of one of his victims to Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe to halt the execution. The lethal injection was administered around 9 p.m. local time, and Morva's death was declared about 15 minutes later. Morva simply answered no when asked if he had last words, according to witnesses. Virginia Department of Corrections spokeswoman Lisa Kinney said there were no complications with the execution, according to the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Morva's lawyers insist that he was suffering from a severe mental illness that the jury was not aware of when they sentenced him to death. Jailed in 2005 for trying to rob a convenience store, Morva escaped a year later when he was taken to the hospital to treat an injury. At the hospital, he overpowered an officer and took his gun, with which he killed unarmed hospital guard Derek McFarland, a father of two. Before he was captured, Morva also fatally shot Montgomery County Sheriff Eric Sutphin in the back of the head. The late sheriff's daughter, Rachel Sutphin, had argued Democratic Governor McAuliffe to halt the execution of her father's killer. So the kid of one of the victims was like, look, you know, I hate this guy, but killing him is not going to accomplish anything, and I'm against the death penalty for moral reasons, and, you know, you can't say killing is wrong by killing somebody. That doesn't make sense, so don't do it, and I'm going to basically lobby on behalf of the guy that killed my father, which is like, damn. But the key part of the story to me is they go on to explain how after the trial and everything, he was diagnosed with something called delusional disorder, which is very similar to paranoid schizophrenia. And so I guess the jury wasn't privy to that information. And it was after the fact that he was diagnosed with it. So they went on and carried out the execution as if he didn't have a severe mental illness. But if he had a severe mental illness, and the evidence is really there, as they indicate, well, then that would just be flat out unconstitutional. You're not allowed to kill somebody who has a severe mental illness. So, and that's not open, that's not like disputed. That's the Supreme Court has ruled that. Like, no, that is unconstitutional. We have a ban on cruel and unusual punishment, the 8th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. If you're killing somebody with a severe mental disorder or somebody who's, you know, mentally retarded, then you're not allowed to do it. You can't do that. So this is a unique case because apparently the diagnosis came after the trial. So everybody acted on the information that he wasn't severely mentally ill. And so people reached out to the governor, including one of the victim's daughters reached out to Governor Terry McAuliffe, by the way, a Democrat. It was like, hey, man, look, we have this new information. Can you halt this execution? He's like, no. Go ahead. Move forward. And look, I got no love for this dude. Because look at what he did. I mean, I described it for you. That's brutal. It's vicious. He killed 2 people, including somebody, a father of 2. So I got no love for this motherfucker. But, you know, life in prison without the possibility of parole, there's no love there. The dude's never getting out. No possibility of parole. So I don't know. I think that would have been the best course of action. But unfortunately, we went in a different direction. And by the way, Terry McAuliffe is one of those guys where his name is floated for running for president in 2020. Please. He's like best friends with the Clintons, by the way. I mean, you want to talk about the last gasp for the neoliberal, new Democrat, centrist corporatists. Terry McAuliffe is that. But this shows how tone deaf he is, man. Again, despise the guy who did the crime, horrendous crime. You should be locked up without ever having the possibility of parole. But the death penalty itself is suspect enough because we kill the wrong people. 4% of the time, by the way. So right off the bat, if you're in favor of the death penalty, you're in favor of sometimes murdering people. Hey, sometimes it happens from time to time. Sometimes we murder 4% of the wrong people. So that's suspect enough. But in this instance, we know the guy did it, but he may be severely mentally ill. He almost has schizophrenia, delusional disorder. So, I don't know, to execute that guy, that's just flat out unconstitutional, and you probably shouldn't do it. We should be bigger than that, and we should have given him, you know, life in prison without the possibility of parole. So, This guy is not really in touch with the Democratic base, and this is just another example of that.